Welcome to the Rebel Rise podcast, a place where badass women like you come to connect, learn, and grow. Here, we celebrate the relentless spirit of women who dare to dream and design their own destinies. Now, this is your time for no bullshit, so no subject is off limits. This is a time for you to collect inspiration and create the vision for your life. Get ready to break free from societal expectations, take your power back, and step into your dream life. Your empowerment journey begins right here. Let's go. Welcome to the second episode of the Rebel Rise podcast. Now, I thought since we're just getting started, today would be a really great opportunity for me to share a little bit of my background and why I'm even doing this and show you all why it is that, or where I've been rather. So I want to dive into that. This probably won't be a super long episode, but I'm hoping that it generates some questions because then I can also help to answer some of those questions as topics on this podcast. Because part of my plan here is to have this not only be an interview format where we've got all these amazing women, but I want to be able to deliver you some one-on-one content as well. So you already know that I am the host here at Rebel Rise, but I am also your no bullshit empowerment coach. So what does that mean? That means that I am here to help lift you up, to help encourage you to create space in your own world for whatever the hell it is that you want to do. I'm not going to give you fluff. I'm going to tell you how things are because I think that there's so much value in that. And in this world where we have AI and we have all of these things that can be doctored and changed on social media and just out in the world, that it's really important to have a place that's going to give it to you straight, that's going to be real with you, and a place where you can be real back. Because there comes a point in everybody's life where we don't feel happy and we don't feel fulfilled. And a lot of that comes from these external things. And a lot of it is all that bullshit that's fed to us. So we'll get to that. But I want to take you back to the beginning of my story, the beginning of my origin story, and how I came to be who I am today and why I want to help you, why I started this podcast to begin with. So my story starts way back in 2015 when I had a MLM type marketing sales job. Now it was a road show business. So I don't know if anyone has ever seen road shows, but those are the things that you see inside of like Costco, Sam's Club, or Fry's. And you have to walk up to someone with a random item like this bottle of lotion. For those of you watching on YouTube, I would have to walk up to somebody random and sell this to them. Now, this was not an easy job to do. It was a really tall order, and I had a lot of limiting beliefs about myself. I didn't really apply the information that I was learning, but I also got so in my head about things because I was so concerned about what the consumer was thinking. And so I didn't do very well. I was not the best salesperson, and it was hourly over commission. I got whatever was higher. Now, the MLM component to this was that once you built a team under you and they had sales, they would then promote you from the office you worked in and open you up somewhere else in the US. So my leader did a really good job of building up a team. And since I was on her team, I got to go with her to launch her business. And we opened up shop in Miami, Florida. And Miami is a very interesting place. Any of you guys who have been to Miami, you probably know what I'm talking about. It is beautiful. There's so many things to do, but Miami is kind of like its own planet almost. And it's also very different from the West Coast, no matter how you slice it. So I had a little bit of culture shock going in, but it was even more difficult for me to make sales there. So I struggled. I couldn't make sales. I didn't make any money. The business out there didn't even do well. And the next thing I know, my boss, my manager, and business partner friend at the time decided she was closing up shop. She was going to go to Georgia and reopen there, invited me to go with. And I decided I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of invest in my own path and explore my own future. And at the time, my thinking and where I wanted to go was to go back to hospitality. And so she moved. I stayed out in Miami and I found a job at a TGI Fridays, which was not fun for me. It was just not where I wanted to be in life. And at the time, I had to go back it was kind of like a desperate move for me to pick to go back to waiting tables because I had done so poorly in sales that I could barely pay my rent. My car was about to get repossessed. Couldn't even afford to go to the beach and pay for parking. And I lived 3 miles away. And something that you'll learn about me spending time with me here is that I love the beach more than anything. It fills my soul up. So to not be able to do that felt so soul crushing. And so, anyways, I went to work in these restaurants and I saved up just enough money to be able to move myself back to Arizona, which is where I live now. It's where I'm from. And my boyfriend at the time had come out there with me. And it was not the healthiest of a situation where we were at. It was, 5 years in, we were towards the end. We moved back together, tried to get a fresh start in my hometown. And that relationship really fell apart from there. It was a situation where we thought moving back and getting a fresh start in a new town was going to really help with that. And it didn't. It made the situation worse. So once we finally parted ways and I was there by myself, I got to really start to ask myself, like, what do I want with my life? Where do I want to go? And I still felt very lost for a long time, but I had at least started to ask the question. So between 2015 up to 2020, so this was quite a chunk of time, I was still in hospitality, just focusing on building my career. I decided I wanted to go back and be a GM and help to teach people and to learn and develop not only myself, but others. And that was a value that I learned in that sales position. So that's kind of where the small seed got planted. And it took some time for it to really germinate and start to flourish. So in 2020, we all know what happened when the pandemic hit and we all got locked down and we were forced to sit by ourselves. Now, I had just gone through a really tough breakup yet again, just as the pandemic hit and we all started to go into lockdown. So I was going through a really tough time already. And then you add all of the terrified energy that we felt as we were all locked down and I was alone. So I was really forced to sit there and confront myself and think about where I've been and realizing that even though I had come a long way, that I still was nowhere where I needed to be. I was picking the wrong relationships. They were toxic. I was still drinking a lot and going out and partying because I worked in that industry and I wasn't working out. I wasn't doing anything for myself. And mostly I just felt like shit. I felt like absolute shit every single day. It was, you wake up, you fill yourself up with coffee or an energy drink, and then you work if you're a restaurant manager, you work almost 70 or 80 hours. So you're overworked and then you're not sleeping enough because you're staying up late and then you're going to go have a nightcap after your shift. And it was just this endless cycle. So I was not in a good place. So when I was forced to sit down and just sit with myself, I got to finally question what are the things that I'm passionate about? What are the things that I love in life or the things that I've always wanted to explore that I want to know more about? Like I would love to try this someday. And that's when dance fitness started to enter my life. It was something I had tried once or twice when I was in Miami, and then I hadn't touched it in years, like the whole time I had been back in Arizona. So that's almost 5 years. And so I decided to go to a local studio, which you'll hear us talk about here on the podcast as well. Um, but I was able to really connect to myself through movement and it made me feel more present and more aware. And as I started to do that, I started to lose weight. I wanted to drink less and I started to feel really good about myself. And then I snowballed into personal development and listening to Brendan Burchard and Rachel Hollis. And those two are really where I started to grasp onto that concept of personal development and how I could get myself to be better. And I started to document this journey of getting to know myself, this journey of losing weight and just feeling better and learning what the power of positivity even meant. And for some of you, that may be super new. And for other people who are here that are entrepreneurs or already in the self development industry, it might feel basic to you, but not for everybody here, right? That's something that could be a new concept. And it's a really great place to start. But I was documenting all this as I was learning it. And I started to get messages in my Instagram and messages on my Facebook with people saying, "Hey, are you a coach? Like, what's happening here? Are you a life coach?" Like, and they were asking me, and I would say, "Well, no, I'm just sharing my journey. I'm just, sharing what I'm doing because I want people to know what I'm up to." And after I got probably the fourth or fifth message like that, I decided, you know what? I should probably listen to this as a sign. I am very big on signs from the universe or whatever you want to call it. For me, it's the universe that it was sending me a message and that I should become a coach. And I had already been looking to switch careers because I wasn't happy. It was feeling no longer in alignment as I started to make these changes, which may be something that you may relate to where you're at in your life now. And so when we had the great resignation in 2020 and 2021, it was an awesome time for me because I went to school. I went to the Health Coach Institute and I got a certification in health and life coaching. And I decided that that was going to be my focus. I was at first going to just help women to appreciate their bodies more and accept who they were on a physical level. And once I lost the weight, though, I realized that there is so much more to your presence and to your happiness than what your physical body looks like. It's so much more than what you see in the outside world. It's so much more than what social media puts on you and what people in your family, your loved ones, your friends put on you. And so that led me on a whole nother journey to discover, who do I want to be? And how do I want to show up in the world? Not who do other people want me to be, but who do I actually want to be? What actually lights up my soul? What fires me up? What are the things that excite me? And as I started to not only dare to explore those things and question those things, but I was able to dip my toes into that water. And the more I dip my toes into that water, the more liberated I felt, the more excited I felt to wake up every day, the more grateful I was. And I started to realize that, wow, there is really something to this. And as I started sharing this and talking to my friends about it and other people that I would meet through my business online, I realized that this is such a big problem. There are so many women out there who sit there and feel like, God, I've checked all of these boxes in life, just like I had. I had the career, I had friends, I could have stayed in a safe job, but I just felt like something wasn't in alignment, like there was something more. And there's so many women out there like that. And no matter what the situation is, it may be exactly the same as what my journey has been up until this point, or maybe it's something different. But we're raised to think that we have to live up to these standards and there's these boxes that we have to check. And then once we check them, we're like, okay, I have arrived. Where is the happiness? Where is the presence? Where do I feel like I have it all? Because we don't end up feeling that way, which is so interesting, but it's because we're trying to fulfill a destiny for ourselves that is not our own. That destiny is something that someone else built for us. So I became a coach that empowers women without bullshit, as we know, being on this podcast, hope you know so far, even though it's only episode 2, that you can be yourself. You can still be that silly, goofy 8-year-old girl, that 10-year-old girl that wants to dance like a goof and do it in front of everybody, or wants to paint. You want to be a professional painter when you were a kid. Maybe you don't make a ton of money doing it. Maybe you don't ever sell your paintings, but maybe if you picked up the brush again, that might make you feel more complete. And it's something that we just don't dare to do because we're so constantly focused on being there for other people, for our career, for our children, for our spouse. You have to put yourself first. So that's what I'm all about. And I was forced to confront that. And I think that I have so much passion and I have so much value in this. And what I want you to take away from this portion of my story is just to have the bravery inside yourself. Have have the bravery to step forward and to become who you are meant to be. Dare to question what's happening in your life. Dare to dream about what your life could be. Now, to this point, I have been a coach now for 3 years. It has been an amazingly beautiful journey, and I have gotten to see hundreds of people see transformation and learn who they are and who they want to become and leave with some kind of direction. Now, this is not a pitch. I just wanted to give you the story up until where I am today. So I hope that you enjoyed this. And if you're looking to do something similar, if this resonated with you and you don't know where to start, I'm going to give you a couple things right now that I would start with if I were you. So, the first thing that I would recommend is grabbing a journal. Now, it may seem really silly, but having a journal can be so powerful, and you can use it for a couple of things. You can use it as a gratitude journal. You can write in there every morning or evening, whatever you prefer, list of things that you are genuinely grateful for that happened to you that day, things that you're grateful for in your life. You can also use it for affirmations. And I did both when I was just starting out on my journey. I would write out current time affirmations where I would say, I have the career of my dreams. Even if I felt like I didn't, I was starting to dream. I was starting to write these, and then I would recite them to myself. I also wrote my gratitudes. You can also write long format if you enjoy journaling already and talk about your day. Talk about the people that you came through for that day and how you could come through for yourself. Point is to connect and to start to establish that presence so that you can be more aware in the moment of the things you may want to shift. And the other thing that I would recommend for anyone starting out is also that you make a list of things that you can try. What are some things that you loved as a kid that maybe you haven't done in a long time, or something that you've always thought that you might enjoy and maybe you didn't speak it out loud, but you know it? I know there's something coming up for you right now as I'm saying this. And that's the magic of this. So make a list of those things and decide, can I try this? When can I try this? When could I put it into my schedule? Or maybe it's something that you can do from home. Maybe it's getting on YouTube and trying a yoga class or taking a new certification. Maybe it's skydiving. I don't know. These are all things that you want to plan out and try and just start to experiment with, because the more you do it, the more you're going to feel, the more liberated you're going to feel. And if you've learned anything from this story, I hope that it is that you can also be free and open and liberated, and you can be yourself. And yes, you can still come through for all of those people in your life that matter, for your job, for your family. But when you are you, it makes you more magnetic. It makes you feel like you're living a more full life, because at the end of the day, this is your life. So those are the two things I would recommend. Grab a journal and start to write down your gratitudes, your affirmations. And then I would also recommend writing down those items that you want to try again, something you want to revisit, or something that you've been curious about exploring, and make time in your calendar to start them. Now, if you're feeling like that second piece, that second recommendation feels like a lot of stuff to keep organized, I actually have a free passion checklist that I've created to make it super easy for you. It's actually got a planner in there as well, so that you can even evaluate how things went for you. So if you went and tried skydiving and you were terrified the whole time and now you know you don't like it, you could actually journal on that inside of there as well. You could actually put your affirmations and gratitudes in there too, and it's completely free. It is digital. I will drop the link to that if you want that in the show notes, so you can grab it and make it super easy. But if you're not into that, totally fine. You can absolutely use a piece of paper as well, but it's just a helpful, nice guide if you need help remembering it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out the second episode of the Rebel Rise podcast. Thank you all so much for being here, and I look forward to reconnecting with you soon. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Rebel Rise podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and invite your friends to join us next week. This is your time. Now get out there and rise.